What's going on, traders? I'm Antoine Farrar back with another trading video with Digital Goatz Academy. Today is Tuesday and it is 5 p.m. So you know what that means. That is our market forecast where we pretty much outline our predictions on what we think that the market is doing. A lot of times we're correct, sometimes we're off. Now, if you've been tuning in to our YouTube, you know we primarily focus on indices, a little bit of cryptocurrency, but our main focus at Digital Goats Academy is to focus on the trades or the currency pairs that bring in the big bucks or bring in, bigger profit. Now that does come with higher risk, but when you learn trading, you manage your risk properly, everything is kind of like elementary at that point. You know what I'm saying? It's just you versus you. But let's go ahead and get into the charts. If you're tuning into this YouTube, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button, like and comment on anything that you want to see in the future. But like I said, let's go ahead and get into the charts. Now, this is US 30. Actually, let's start with S&P. Let's start with S&P first. So what we didn't do this week was a weekly review, which kind of really doesn't matter because the market has, I mean, besides S&P and Nasdaq, indices collectively hasn't really made a big change. The only things were that Nasdaq and S&P have created new highs, so I'm expecting US 30 to do the same as well. Hold on, let me expand my. But since we didn't do a weekly review, let's go ahead and look at how price opened up for Sunday. So this is where we're currently at. This is how the market is currently reacting. As you can see, we've been bullish for the past 4 weeks. We're in our fifth week where the market has actually starting to show some type of rejection. But I don't think that that's telling us that we're trying to sell off, especially since we've already broken a new high. And I know the logic behind like breaking a new high, oh, the market should want to pull back. The indices doesn't really operate like that. I can see this pullback being exactly what the market is trying to do in order to push up, but we'll discuss that as we move forward. Let me break it down. So where's Sunday at? Scale down to the hour. This isn't Sunday. Sunday is right here. So as you can see, we did drop below Sunday's open for this week, but if you just look at it, the market's been consolidating like upward. That's a hint right there, right? How many times have we seen that where the market is consolidating upward and then decides to push up? So there hasn't been any really major moves within S&P and Nasdaq, but let me just focus on S&P. Within S&P, the only thing that I have noticed is that when we broke out of this area, well, let me just go over Sunday real quick. It's all the way where we're currently at now. So Sunday we gapped down. I expected some type of pullback. We got the pullback, and then price actually filled this gap by pushing higher, right? And we've been in this like ranging phase until price decided, hey, I want to come back and test these areas. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is because what area is this for us? If you've been following Digital Goats Academy, you know that purple pretty much annotates or marks up our gaps. So we do either a purple circle if it's like a small gap, if it's like a major gap, we do like a purple zone. So you can see right here, price actually today decided to pull back to the high of that gap. So we discussed this a lot. Pay attention to these gaps. And this was the gap that was made from 2 Sundays ago. And we were kind of anticipating that the market was going to do something like this, but just weren't sure when. I was actually looking for a deeper retracement at first, but hitting this high to me, that's just, basic market structure. Again, let's keep it as simple as possible when it comes to trading. So if you turn it to a line chart, I've already like um annotated or I've already pretty much labeled. That's what I meant to say. I already pretty much labeled like what's going on. We just have to see if price continues in these directions, right? So we see that price has, bought up from the support. You can't see it here because it's in a line chart form, but price has supported this or rejected this support, whatever you want to say, but it's overall created support to buy back up. So this is consolidation, keeping it simple, even if we ignore all these other zones that we have data points at, right? Consolidation, broke out of consolidation, what should we expect? We should expect the market to come back and test that area to confirm that, yes, we are bullish. This is exactly what it looks like it's doing right now. It broke out of this area. Price should come back when it tests this zone and then push up from there. We don't know how deep, but I'm expecting that on the candlestick, that since we've already had some type of rejection or some type of bounce, price is actually trying to build the support that it needs unless we gap down in order to push the market back up. It's been very consistent that the market starts getting bullish around like 13, I mean, not 13, 1500 and 1600. If you don't know military time, that's 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern time for us, right? So I don't know on the West Coast what that, well, I mean, I do know, but on the West Coast and Central, it may be a little bit different. But just pay attention to that. As the market has been getting ready to close, just overall, price has been getting bullish. Has it been consistent as far as like every day? No, but I did see like 2 days in a row and then the following like couple days and didn't do that. But we're seeing that today. We got bullish around like I think exactly 4:22 p.m. Eastern at exactly that time. Well, probably like 2 minutes before that, but that's when I noticed that man, US 30 got bullish from that exact area that we were looking to buy off from. Again, let's not make this any harder than it needs to be because keeping it simple by identifying these zones and not going against just because the market is showing you a different visual going against your own analysis. Like I said, I try to break it down as simple as possible. Of course, when we're in these trades, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh man, all I had to do was just wait for this area and price was going to give me, we know that price bought up, sold down, bought up. I mean, hell, these are doji patterns right here, and doji patterns are nothing but consolidation patterns based off of each candle. So I'm pretty sure that could be a nightmare for a trader that isn't well versed in these currency pairs. But get a handle on it and just pay attention more often. Also using your demo in conjunction with your live account, so that way you can see the formation of how this market like you know, produces its results. You know what I'm saying? So everything like it doesn't seem clear like this, but it like this overall move, this was like a 722 pip drop for S&P, which if you've been paying attention to us last year, we know that the max we've seen S&P go in like 1 week is like 1200. So the fact that this pushed down like 720 pips to me it's showing that that's the pullback versus me thinking that, oh man, it's building bearish pressure. You see what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of skepticism. And again, we do have tomorrow we have non-farm payrolls, so that obviously can change the conditions of the market, but I am looking at the fuel the market for a rally versus working against it. But we'll obviously see when, conversation is out tomorrow. Hopefully we get a push up between well during the post market going into London. So that way by the time the interest rate decision comes out, we're kind of higher up. And if it is pulling down, it's pulling down to test these areas. But I'm still bullish, based off of what we're seeing. Like this is an area where I expect the market to be testing. Um, yeah, we created support right here. We talked about this last week where we created support if we scale down on a smaller time frame. And you can see that even though we have this marked up, it did test this area. So you can see that right here. We have a candlestick and we have a wick where price obviously confirmed that it was testing this morning star pattern. I think I even mentioned this, show. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but morning star pattern, like pay attention. This is on a 1 hour time frame, but I guarantee its better depiction is probably on a 30-minute. Yep. 30-minute time frame, right? So we've talked about these patterns, right? These are consistent patterns that show up in the market. Don't lose your cool when the market is pretty much going against you. Obviously, if it's a losing trade, close it out, but pay attention and leave these data points. This is why I always speak on, hey, keep your markups, even if it looks like a lightsaber battle between Jedi and Sith, because this information is relative to you. You know what I'm saying? Like this information is important. So that way you're not confused on like, man, why did it do that? A lot of times with indices, it does look like, why did it do that? There's no way I could have predicted that. And a lot of times we can't predict that, but we can have areas that we already marked up that the market definitely comes back to. Now, I wasn't really geared on paying attention that there was a morning star pattern here, But this was the top of the gap that was made 2 Sundays ago. So me just, trusting myself, using the sentimental analysis part, I believe that this is the test for the gap. Not to mention, we looked at prior data, which the market was consolidating, broke out of consolidation, keeping it simple. It's testing that consolidation to confirm what a buy pattern. And the fact that we've been getting bullish right here, yeah, I'm thinking that we're buying up from here. So I'm thinking this is the buy zone. Of course, once more traders start entering for a buy, price will probably try to drag the market down slightly, but we just got to see how the market opens up. Because if it opens up gapping up, then yeah, it'll probably come down slightly and then push back up. But the way it's been reacting, it's been taking a longer time to build the buy than it has been to sell. The sell's been seeming like it's just been dropping like that. Even when you look at today, this 750 pip drop, like that happened. It seemed like it happened almost instantly. And we spent from 8:30 all the way. Look at this. So this drop happened yesterday, starting yesterday, but uh, yeah, so yesterday post market and the confirmation, if you weren't all the way up here, was around London. So London continued to trend down, and then we actually started getting bullish around 8:30. We did have some type of news, which we had that ADP employment news, and then price did what? Push down in order to do what? To test this area to create what? Support. Easy peasy and buy up from there. The only thing is price going to try to drop down to test this area that we broke out of, or are we going to do like a shallow pullback or start consolidating where it doesn't have to push down? It could start consolidating here because we are going into Sydney and Tokyo, so we can see something like this. You know what I'm saying? I'm just drawing a line, and then from there, if price doesn't decide to come back and test that high that it broke out, of, which I'm thinking that we're not going to test that high, but like I said, we got to look to see how we got to look to see how the market responds when it opens up at 6 o'clock, and then see if it tries to either test the high of this area or actually push back into it. But I think since we're going into Sydney and Tokyo, we are going to consolidate and then just continue to trend. The only thing is that, once we're somewhere up here, will price try to push down here to test this like during New York tomorrow? Because remember, we have the interest rate decision and then buy back up. But there could be all types of fuckery going on tomorrow, excuse my French, but that's just what it is. But if we're just keeping it simple as far as market structure, we've been trending up. Any push down that we have, we've seen it. Even though it seems like on the smaller time frames, violent. Like, trust me, like if I was moving at a higher lot size, I would have been hurting myself today. But I wasn't. I was in S&P, and I was in S&P up here thinking that the trend was going to continue. So again, even with my experience, still simple mistakes that I make, not even factoring in like, bro, just wait for opening bell because what do we need opening bell to do if we're confirming that we're buying up? It's not guaranteed like a high percentage rate, but I would say at least 50-50. So for opening bell, we need opening bell to do what if we're buying up? We need opening bell to drag us down if we're looking for a buy zone because normally what opening bell is doing is just trying to hurry up and find that support structure faster where it would have taken like all day or all week to do it if the market was just moving at its regular pace. You see what I'm saying? So opening bell normally brings us down to these forms of structure that we need. Hurry. That's why it seems so violent because it's doing it so fast. You know what I mean? So I'm still bullish. I'll see what happens when we open up, but I'm still bullish across the board for indices. The only thing I'm looking at this to be is consolidation, and we just got to make sure that this isn't like the continuation of the consolidation pattern where it's like it wants to dive deeper and then buy up. So I'm hoping this is like the breaker structure that we need. That's why I said I went ahead and annotated that we have a high broken, which this is the high that's broken. And if it's working like the way I'm thinking, this should be the shallow pullback that the market needs in order to buy back up. But again, we'll have to see. We've been pretty accurate. This is just where the market has just been stalling out, and as you can see, it already still, blew through that resistance up there. That it did look like it was pushing down. So I'm not thinking that we're pushing down, but again, we have to see because tomorrow conditions can change, but we've been pretty on point when it comes to that. If it does happen, obviously we'll just fire and talk about what we need to do after that. But anything lower than this, I would count that as a losing trade. Like, well, if you're up here, if you're anywhere up here, I would say if it even gets back to the support, just go ahead and cut your losses. But again, just depends on your size account and the amount of pips that you project that the market will pull back. I'm thinking, like I said, this is just like a shallow pullback. Like, for example, I'm thinking this is just a shallow pullback in order to, if we were to, I'm just saying, if we were to push down again, I think we're buying up from here. But you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is going to be the continuous consolidation pattern to push us up because S&P and Nasdaq momentum has slowed down. I think allowing US 30 to catch up. US 30 is the only one that hasn't broken a high yet. And I think we're breaking a high, yeah. For sure. I think that we're breaking a high. Call me crazy. So, Nasdaq, I don't want to go into what happened well, here's a Sunday's gap. Okay, so Nasdaq again was bullish, and look what it did. These are corrective patterns. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at it, these are definitely corrective patterns. And the only reason I'm even saying that is because how do you lock it? Okay, let me draw. Corrective patterns are part of what? I know one of my members of my community knows because they trade it a lot. But corrective patterns are part of Elliott wave patterns. So when you see corrective patterns in the market, I'm sure there's an Elliott wave pattern being made. Look at this. Matter of fact, this is kind of for fun. Don't, because I haven't done this in a while, but I know a lot. So it's like I'm telling you, when it presents, if you do know how to use these different forms of, analyzing the market and stuff, or I don't want to say strategy because it's not a strategy. Don't know strategy work, yo. You just know how to trade. But look, and it presents a harmonic pattern is what it's called. That's crazy. I don't even use this stuff anymore. But again, I know it. So to add confluent, now I'm not saying try to do this and make it up, but is this a bat pattern or is this something else? I don't know. I forgot what pattern this is called, but this is a harmonic pattern, possibly showing us that this is the buy zone. This is so crazy because of this. I'm comfortable saying that yeah, this is the buy zone because I'm looking at S&P to buy up from. But that's crazy that you could utilize something that again I don't even use, but all this stuff is built in the market. You know what I mean? Like harmonic patterns, head and shoulders, Elliott wave patterns, like they're all built into the market. You just have to know it and be able to identify it. We could probably go back and backtest and identify other areas where the market was doing that. But look, this is a harmonic pattern on an hour time frame. Man, I know I know a lot of my peers that trade that I started the journey with. I'm sure they would go nuts for this because it's like we haven't used this in like years, yo. I don't know too many people that still use harmonic patterns, but the way this is playing out, this is insane. Like I said, I haven't used this in like fucking years, yo. This is like my sixth, seventh year as a trader, and I haven't used this, and it hasn't been relevant. But again, when it's relevant, if you know how to use it, look what I can identify to give me more confidence, at least to add on to my confluence. We're already looking at price to buy. So even if we weren't even paying attention to this, or I'm trying to look for a harmonic pattern, it's there if you need to, add a little bit more to your confluence, right? But that's why I even went in to explain that this is a corrective wave pattern. So anytime you see the market push up and it looks like a downtrend, and I'm specifically talking about the buy, right? And it looks like a downtrend, normally that's like a corrective pattern, you know what I'm saying? Now, how low the pattern goes, like I don't know. And I'm just saying for future tense sakes that if price were to possibly continue pushing down, like that doesn't mean that the pattern is void, just how you identified it. So, for example, if prices did a deeper retracement, that in theory would be like where you would try to buy off from. So if tomorrow price tries to buy down, just kind of keep that in the back of your head. But yeah, I'm looking at this to be the buy up for NASDAQ. like I said, I don't heavily trade NASDAQ. I really use it as an index for me to invest because most of my stocks are powered by the NASDAQ. So that's kind of where my focus is at with NASDAQ. But yeah, it bought up from here. I was surprised. I have yet to kind of hone in where NASDAQ would be buying up from or where its points of entries would be. But again, we're just keeping it simple. Turn it to a line chart like we always say. Okay, identify what's going on. Keep it simple. This is consolidation. This is that consolidation pattern that we were talking about, how it's moving upward. Let me get a better. Okay. What am I trying to do? Oops. Oh yeah, we make that orange, right? Almost got caught slipping right there. Orange, blah blah blah. I think this is the right. Is that the right orange? There we go. So consolidation upward, like we said. So look at this. Mm, I wanted to make sure I capture like where the wicks were at. So okay, this is where price started doing its thing. Like, oh, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. Then boom, breaks out. And then it seems like it's about to continue, then build some sort of resistance, starts a corrective wave to do what? Test back into the consolidation, then bounce up. Now, again, we still got to wait to see how the market opens up, but that's what we're looking for. And then based off of us adding that harmonic pattern to it, because it is a corrective wave pattern right now, that should be, like I said, enough for us to have another a possible buy position. So even if you miss the move right here, I think, like I said, unless we gap down, I think that price is buying up from here. And we're continuing that what? That inverted head and shoulder pattern that I talked about. We have yet to come back. And as long as price keeps moving away from it, this is still in play. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, we should have no like reason to believe price is coming down to these lower areas unless we get some major negative news like more war, tariffs, or even I even think even with the interest rate decision, the most we could do is probably test back into like the pattern, not even like I said, there's a possibility the market could drop a little bit lower than this, but I don't think like we're coming back anything remotely under the resistance zone that we was made. So have fun with that, traders. For those of you that do trade the Nasdaq, and again, if you are tuning in on YouTube and you trade some of these currency pairs, yo, put your input down there. You know what I'm saying? Tell me if you're seeing the same thing as well, because I mean, I'm open to the conversation and I'm open to the other viewpoints. Because again, as traders, we don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? You can't be perfect in this market. You can only be just right. You know what I mean? And it helps when you have somewhat of a different perspective of somebody else. Not enough to change your analysis, but just enough to get your mind thinking like, man, I didn't even think about that, or I didn't even factor that into the market. Hopefully it won't cloud your judgment. But again, that's just kind of how I operate as a trader. But last but not least, US 30. So US 30 actually started getting bullish, just like we said, at around, let me look on. So at the 4 hour, like at the end of the well, at the open of the 4 hour candle, so at the end of the two p.m. candle, we started building support down here, and we didn't really get bullish until it was earlier than that at 3:30. So at 3:30 we bought up, and if you can kind of look, yeah, 3:30. Yeah, 3:30 we bought up because I'll count this as the buy, right? Because of this wick. So at 3:30 we bought up. One thing that I mentioned with my community is that what I was looking for, again, patterns in the market, right? You don't have to play to them, but they're all over. We just identified a fucking harmonic pattern. So patterns aren't necessarily meant to like tell you the right direction, but if you see them being formed, you can use those as entries, or you can use it to say, man, it's against my analysis. There's been plenty of times where I've used patterns where it's like, if it creates this pattern, then I know the market is going this way. If it violates this pattern, I know to get in the other direction. Let's not make it harder than it needs to be, traders. But here's one thing that I was looking for. I was looking for this to build momentum. So this is consolidating down, right? So I do know we've discussed that. So not to confuse anybody, this is consolidating down, definitely, right? But this isn't, I'm not looking for one of these consolidation patterns downward, especially since we started moving sideways. Consolidation patterns downward in order to push the market down. What I ended up identifying, what I believe this to be, is the bullish flag pattern. So this should be a continuation of the buy and push us back to these highs and back to that resistance that US 30 made at 50,500. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. So let me kind of draw it out so it makes sense. So we've been bullish, right? So we have to say that, all right, this is at least the flagpole, right? This is at least the flagpole. We're building like the or accumulating orders on the 4 hour time frame. Let me see. You could say 8 hour, but not everybody has the 8 hour. Slightly on the daily, but I don't like how that looks. So I would have to say the better view is to look at it on the 4 hour time frame. Now, I did expect that there was a possibility of price pushing down back to the support, and that's still open. Again, we have to push away from this area, but I do want to highlight that there's a possibility of the market pushing down here in order to clear out this area, clear out all this liquidity, and then buy back up. But that will probably happen during New York tomorrow if we get the push down. I'm not looking for the push down, but I'm just keeping an eye out for it because you don't want to get too comfortable. Price starts buying up and then pushes down, or price starts consolidating. I wouldn't even say it would buy up from here. I would say it would probably start consolidating, then push down first, then buy back up. So this is what I'm kind of looking for if this happens. I'm looking at this as a buy zone where we're at currently, but I'm not going to be foolish enough to say that price can't try to push us down to respect one, this trend, but also push us back up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would expect if what am I trying to say? The interest rate decision impacts the market like that, but that's only if that happens. From this general area, because we started getting bullish, yes, I'm still looking at the market to buy up from here. But again, I'm being open-minded. If the market gets again, you don't want to get too comfortable in this shit. You don't want to get too comfortable where you stop analyzing the market. How many times have you been in profit, been like, oh man, to the moon, or if you're selling, to hell, you know what I'm saying? You go back, look at the market, or maybe some news comes out on my FX book, or Trump says something, and you see that the market is down because, traders stop analyzing the market and getting comfortable, especially if you don't have like TP set. You should always continuously be analyzing the market until it pretty much breaks a high or something like that. Now, in this area, we couldn't even though we were analyzing it, we were pretty much stuck. But as you can see, it didn't do anything. Price really didn't. All it did was it kept going up, kept going down, kept going up, kept going down, consolidating, breaking out. But every time it pushed down to this support structure or even this consolidation zone, price did not break it. We haven't broken a high yet, but we damn sure haven't broken a low. So again, that plays a factor into when you're looking at market structure. Keep it simple, traders. Did it break anything? It breaks something, you get the pullback on the opposite side, then yeah, you take advantage. But for us at Digital Goats Academy, we're trying to identify these moves, one on the lower time frame, but where they're happening on the lower time frame. I don't need a big ass candle to tell me if price is buying if I already started seeing support or accumulation orders building up. You see what I'm saying? So it's like those are the moves that we're trying to be in. Most traders, this is the move that they catch and one, make the least amount of money, but also start making mistakes from. So a lot of traders like to say, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for this." Well, Yes, you can wait for that, but if you're expecting that the market's going to give you this just right away, just so you can calmly enter the market, doesn't work like that all the time. Half the time, indices don't even operate like that because we're already seeing it. This is something that indices will do, especially US 30. Now, I hope this doesn't happen, but I gotta address this like it could possibly happen. This is what indices will do. And you'll get your little shallow pullback. You're like, oh man, I'm getting my pullback. And you'll be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you do buy here, or maybe you don't. You're like, man, I need a deeper retracement. And you see this shit up here. Then you see like, oh man, I might get another retracement. Then it goes up here, right? And it goes up here. And you're like, so look at the areas that you possibly could have entered, or you could have been down here and kind of taken your chances, especially in orientation with the pattern. But you could have entered here, but you were looking for, oh, more confirmation, right? You could have entered there. And I'm not saying don't look for more confirmation, but learn the currency pair that you're trading. You could have entered there. Now, this would have been a little bit more of a riskier trade than this was. Now, this is what happens. You see the market do that, so you're like, man, this thing is probably gonna buy up, right? And what y'all, what do y'all think happens after that? That pullback that you was looking for, that you was hoping to get, right back there. And then, you're buying from these levels, believing that, oh, well, it's going to do a shallow because that's what it did on this side. No, this is the pullback on the opposite side. So this entry would probably be solid, but price will probably try to drive lower in order to, push people out of these zones if they were still holding this entry, which that's what I always promote. Definitely take your profit until we get to Wednesday or Sunday and then buy up from an area that one you stop paying attention to. You see what I'm saying? Now I hope it doesn't do that, but it possibly could do this, you know what I'm saying? So that's why for us we try to identify these movements like one on a smaller time frame, but where they may be happening on a smaller time frame versus needing a bunch of confirmation after the market that made a bunch of moves. Like to me, you're behind, talking about you're catching this move. Like the risk is in um the entry. So no entry is like solid. So you're already risking by entering in the market in general. You know what I'm saying? So get comfortable with identifying these forms of structure. That way you can catch these moves instead of like being behind and then catching the pullback and then the market kind of goes against you, or you're only getting like a percentage of the move. You won't be able to catch the full move. So this is like in a perfect world. We won't be able to catch this, but we can start identifying, being comfortable to say that okay, around this area, price could try to build support, or I have a level of structure here or a data point here where I have consolidation or I have support, whatever you've identified to confirm that yes, this is a buy zone or this is a sell zone. And again, you won't know until more data is made in the market, but as it starts producing more data, start being confident in your approach. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm still bullish on US 30. This is exactly what I wanted to see. The only thing is that I want us to clear this. I want us to clear this. I don't want us to push down anymore. I want us to clear this area and actually run away from it because in all honesty, I believe we should have cleared this shit last week, but a lot of uncertainty. I don't know if that stuff that happened at the White House is playing a factor. There's so many other entities that's kind of polluting the market that's making especially currency pairs like US 30 just look like it's not doing shit. But that's also a part of indices that gets a lot of traders. I've seen it. I've seen it with my experience like the past 2 years with US 30. It'll get you all like frustrated and knock people out from all these moves. Then after it's built up those orders by taking your money, it just shoots to the moon. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if we get a shoot to the moon, we know that one, traders lost a lot of money, which means that this is the right direction. Um, and what's the other thing? Traders lost a lot of money, and oh, that's the confirmation we need for the buy. You know what I'm saying? Plain and simple. So that's all I got for today, traders. I will say that with cryptocurrency, I am still bullish on it, but I don't want to go into it today. I might do a separate video where I kind of explain my thought process behind specifically Bitcoin because I look at Bitcoin as the index for all cryptos. So whatever it's doing, I'm looking at other crypto tokens to kind of follow suit. But also just to add a little bit more confluence. This is our gap from 2 Sundays ago. We broke out of it and we've been playing in it. Not one time did we break below it. So again, identify these areas of structure and make sure when you're looking at market structure, you're looking at breaks of like previous lows or breaks of previous highs. You're not just guesstimating because you saw like a push down. You know what I'm saying? It looks like that. When we're in it, it definitely looks like that. This market definitely looked like it was selling off, but I no longer believe that. I think that this is exactly what I was looking for, that bullish flag pattern. And we're going to push up to this resistance, probably even breaking it, and then come back on the opposite side to test these areas if we do decide to do that. But with the market just consolidating right here, I'm looking at it to continue up. But again, we'll see. Based off tomorrow, we've been pretty accurate when it comes to S&P and Nasdaq. They've been the better moves in my opinion, but we're still bullish overall. So we just got to see how why am I getting stuck, yo? How the interest rate decision comes out tomorrow. But like I said, I'm still bullish. If anything changes, I'll address the community. But if not, I'm still bullish at the end of the day. So that's all I got, traders. I hope y'all have a successful trading week. Obviously, YouTube, you'll see me Thursday, and my community, you'll see me tomorrow. But I'll give updates, and obviously on Thursday, I'll double back to talk about like what happened on Wednesday and how the market reacted. But if we're just up, then there's no real reason to talk about it because we've been talking about these moves. You know what I'm saying? We've been bullish on indices. My narrative hasn't changed. My bias hasn't changed. So the only thing I'm looking for is the continuation. You know what I'm saying? And I hope we get the continuation tomorrow. So again, have a successful trading week, traders. Make sure you be careful. Next week is non-farm payroll as well. So we'll obviously discuss that, but I think non-farm payroll next week, because this week is Labor Day on Friday, it's going to actually add the momentum we need to this rally that we're looking for, especially when we're looking at things like cryptocurrency. And I'm thinking oil is coming down, but that's a conversation for another day. So use proper risk management, traders. Y'all be safe out there. Like I said, I'll catch you on the next video of Digital Goats Academy. I'm Antoine Farrar, as always, signing off. Peace.